It's like a comfortable pair of old shoes, isn't it? Christmas comes around. We're on this week in WordPress 235. Kind of feels like I haven't done this for a month. We've had 2 weeks off actually because I've been a poorly little chap, and so I'm kind of really glad that I'm back in the way of things. Somebody's got a lot of noise going on in the background now. I don't know who that
It's
is.
fixed.
Oh, is it? Okay, good. Thank you. So here we are, the week before Christmas. I appreciate anybody who sent me some get well messages. That's really kind of you. Michelle today is in need of those vibes as well because she's not feeling particularly well this morning. But let's just go around the panel and introduce everybody. First of all, hi there, Michelle. How are you doing? Honestly, are you all right?
I've been better, but I'm a trooper. I'm gonna power through.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate you joining us today. Michelle Frechette, if you don't know her, then where, frankly, have you been living? She is she's the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. In addition to her work there, Michelle is the podcast barista at WPCoffeetalk.com, co-founder of Underrepresented in Tech, creator of WP Career Pages. She's also the president of the board of BigOrangeHeart.org, director of community relations, and contributor at Post Status. I'm going to take a breath. Author, business coach, and frequent organizer and speaker at WordCamp events. Michelle lives outside Rochester, New York, which was kind of handy for the state of the word this week, where she's an avid nature photographer, and you can find out more about her at meetmichelle.online. You went there this week, right? You actually attended in person.
I did, yeah.
Was it an invite thing, or could you invite yourself if you like?
I got invited.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was one of the people that was invited. And of course, that's a huge honor to be able to say, this was an invitation. I didn't have to ask to be invited. So
nice.
It was very cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
You know, one of the little perks of doing all the stuff I do.
Yeah, you do a lot, as we just heard. And he hadn't been with us for a while. We got Taco back. We managed to drag him back in. What? Yes. Taco was a regular for absolutely ages, and then he had to step away because, like, your calendars got all muddled up, didn't they? Your Monday, which was free, became a Monday, which was busy, or something. Was that right?
Yeah, that was a management team meeting that was deemed more important than this week in WordPress. I'm not sure why.
I am
How
not
dare
happy
they?
about that. Yeah, exactly. Tot. Anyway, very nice to have you back on this final show just before the holiday season starts. Taco is the head of relations. This is great, this bio, by the way. Taco is the head of relations at Yoast, an irregular contributor to WordPress as GTE for Dutch and deputy on the WP community team. He lives in... I'm not even going to try. I'm going to say Winchen.
Close. Yeah, Wieken.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He lives in Wieken in the Netherlands, which is very close to Yoast HQ. Taco is still pretty active on Twitter, and he's only just started tooting a bit. Yeah, good for you. I've seen you lurking. And this is the bit. This morning, Taco learned that there's a save button at the bottom of the show notes page, which is required if you want to store your input.
I did my input twice, so I'm that dedicated.
That's not too bad. And you know what, Remkus? I for some reason I've got my section for you blank. I'm so sorry. I don't
refresh, kind sir.
Oh, there you go. You've done it properly. There we go. Perfect. Right. Let's read out Remkus's excellent. I know Remkus has got a lot in the pipeline at the moment. Remkus de Vries, how are you doing, mate?
It's all right.
Well,
let's finish this year. And
we had a chat. We had a chat before, so I know what you're going through. Yeah, WordPress veteran and WordPress veteran and WordPress and WooCommerce performance specialist at Truer Than North. Remkus is also a contributor to the WordPress project, predominantly by organizing WordCamps such as WordCamp Europe and WordCamp Netherlands, which he co-founded both of. He's based in the Netherlands, and Remkus publishes a WordPress-related newsletter each week, which you should totally check out. And you've got the coolest URL, remk.us. So basically, it's his name. But instead of it's remk.us. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Not many people can get their actual name like that.
I tried to get remkus.com, but they want like 10,000K for it. So I'm like,
oh. No, this is better. I like this more.
Yeah, same.
Tell us, Remkus, before we start, because I know that you've been sort of jiggling your endeavours around a little bit recently. What's the thing which is happening to you at the minute? What are you putting your energies into?
I think two things primarily. So there's this geezer from the United Kingdom who has recommended I start doing a podcast as well.
What a fool!
I know, but I have recorded the first two, and I have a couple follow up already in the calendar. And secondly, I'm working on my courses, which is a totally new thing for me. Not necessarily doing courses, but the way I'll do this course is new for me in terms of everything I'll do from scratch. So that's mostly where my attention goes if I'm not doing my regular work. Nice.
During the course of this week, I've been editing a podcast episode I did with a chap called Chris Badgett. I don't know if you know Chris. Chris is behind Lifter LMS, but man alive, there's so much in the making of a course. I've never done any of that. I've never endeavored to do any of that. I've only participated in, going through other people's courses. And he just started listing out all the things. I was like, yep, okay, yeah, there's that, and then there's that, and then there's that.
If you look at it from a simple perspective, it's just a bunch of lessons, which is about the information you're learning, right?
Yeah.
But you'd be wrong, because I've had conversations with various people who've helped me out tremendously, who are doing nothing other than these types of things. And every single conversation I go like, oh, okay, yeah, oh yeah, right, okay, I need to do that too, and I need to remember that. And I had just every single conversation has been an eye-opening in terms of the little things that go along with it.
Right. Yeah, there is a lot more to it than meets the eye. That was what I discovered. Well, anyway, the best of luck with those new endeavors. I hope it. Yeah, of course. We got a few comments coming in. By the way, if you do wish to make a comment, I'd love that. That's really nice. But there are a few little caveats, especially if you're on Facebook, and this is basically the caveat. If you want us to see your name and your avatar, you have to go to chat.restream.io/FB. It should have been in the comment, the thread right at the top if you're over there. That will allow us to see who you are and so on. If you want to remain anonymous, that's fine. Some people just get over that by writing their first name as the first word of their comment. So entirely up to you. And if you fancy sharing it, just pop your keyboard down for a moment and go to whatever social platform you like. And mainly, we're over on wpbuilds.com/live, and it would be nice if anybody wants to join us for that. That would be lovely. And there's a few comments here. Firstly, from Devinder. Hello, Devinder. Thank you for running your awards, Devinder. That was great. There was a whole bunch of people won gold, silver, and bronze this year in all sorts of different WordPress categories. The last bit of WordPress goodness in 2022. Oh, thank you, Devinder. That's really nice. And hello, Amy. Hope you're feeling better now, Nathan and Michelle. Take it easy. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a brush with a surgeon and then a brush with COVID. And let's just say it was curious. I have missed, says Devinder, the save button. Yeah,
thank
it's not
you,
just
Devinder.
Full disclosure,
and here we
I've
are.
missed it twice. So
yeah. Here we are with the regular forecast, the weather forecast, which we get each week from Peter Ingersoll. I love this. Good morning from Connecticut, US, where it's currently 0 degrees, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, under mostly cloudy skies. Okay, here's a weather update for you. Yesterday, about 8 hours ago, if you looked out my window, there was about 6 inches of snow. There was snow everywhere. The temperature has fluctuated by 15 degrees. So it went from -5, actually 17 degrees. It went from -5 last night in centigrade to +12 in centigrade. Wow. And I woke up this morning. I was out at about 11 last night, trudging through the snow. Woke up this morning. Every particle of it is gone. It is the weirdest thing to see snow disappear in the same way that it appears. You wake up and it's like it's gone from green to white. I've never in my life gone from white to green in the space of 6 hours, and there's not any
I have.
snow. Huh.
Happens all the time in New York.
Really, I've never, because it's always like this slow, slushy transformation where you go through like 3 or 4 days of this horrible.
I wasn't referencing the snow.
Oh, what were you referencing? I daren't ask.
I'm not sure. You should ask Nathan.
I
I'm
daren't
not
ask.
sure.
The mind boggles. And we're being joined by somebody all the way, James Giroux, all the way from Mexico. Nice to see everybody. Thank you. And it's 25. Just stop, James.
Yes,
25 degrees.
It's -2 here, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So
yeah, we had -5 last night, but yeah. Well, anyway, it's very nice to have you all with us. We're going to talk about the WordPress news for this week, and let's kick it off with probably one of the biggest stories, I guess, that we get each and every year is the State of the Word. State of the Word used to be done by Matt Mullenweg inside of WordCamp US, is my understanding. I was never in attendance for that, but more recently, presumably with COVID and all, it's gone to its sort of own little independent event. I know Michelle went last year, and as she said, she actually went this year. Was it a pretty small affair, Michelle? How many people were in the room and all of that?
About 50 people. They limit it to 50. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and it looked like a really sort of like convivial little atmosphere. It wasn't like a hotel foyer or conference room. It looked more like I don't know, almost like somebody's sitting room or something.
It's the Tumblr offices. So a few years back when Automatic acquired Tumblr, they also acquired the lease for the Tumblr offices in New York City. So that's where they do the State of the Word.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And let's just go through a couple of the top level items. So obviously Matt takes the stage and he tries to sum up what's been going on in WordPress during the course of the year from his perspective. And then given all of that, there's a bit of crystal ball gazing where we're trying to figure out what things are going to be happening in the future. As always, WP Tavern and Sarah Gooding are on top of the story. And really the highlights, I suppose, were the event itself, which was quite nice. Lots of community members, Michelle included, got to ask some questions. Again, Michelle got the first question in, which was quite nice. But Gutenberg adoption was one of the main themes, talking about how Gutenberg has improved over the course of the year and the fact that it's now starting to appear in all sorts of different places. There's an app which I confess I've never heard of before called Engine Awesome, which Matt pointed out is now using a sort of stripped down version. And also there was reference, I don't know how oblique it was, but there seemed to be reference that it was either in Tumblr already or it was going to be put into Tumblr. Anyway, so there was that, all the stuff about Gutenberg, and then moved on to the community side of things. And if you stare back over the last 3 or 4 years, the community really sort of tanked in some ways. The events and the meetups kind of got stifled. Nobody really was able to do any of those, but it looks like there's been a real bounce back. So just in terms of the contributing to the project itself, 1,399, which is gallingly close to 1,400, contributed, of which 652 were contributing for the first time. There was also much more in terms of events. I can't remember the numbers now, but we went from one WordCamp last year to, I think it was 21 or something in the course of last year. So that's all bounced back. And we got onto this subject.
If you look at those numbers for contributors in the graphic, I mean, what stands out is that we had almost half of the contributors last year was new.
Yeah.
And only a few contributed to more than one release or to all releases. So aren't we doing something wrong if that percentage new time contributors is so high compared to the overall number of contributors?
You're going to have to run that by me again, because I think I missed the thrust of what you were saying. You were saying that although it's an encouraging figure because it's nice to have new blood, are you saying it's discouraging because it's really a very large proportion of new? In other words, where have the other people, the old people gone, if you like?
Yes, and we're seeing this every single time.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I remember correctly, it's roughly the same thing every single time.
So where do all these people disappear off to then, I guess, is the answer. You want the answer to that question, trying to figure out
why aren't we able to keep these people in our community, and why aren't we able to keep them contributing to WordPress? What's scaring them away?
Yeah, and it's interesting that's never mentioned in that way, is it? There's always this great big focus on look how many new people. In other words, that is a nice metric to have, but really, what you want to see is this number, this 1,300, sort of being 1,700 this year, 2,100 the following year, and basically it just keeps growing as a. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
interesting.
Ideally,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
if we're being honest, it's still a weird metric to track anyway, because what is a contribution? That can be just somebody popping in the comments saying, "Hey, how about we fix it this way?" or "How about we do that?" And it can be someone who actually wrote a piece of code, tested it, refactored it, tested it again. You know, this can either be a 10-minute input or a couple hours of input. There's no way of measuring that.
But also,
go on, Michelle.
also Amy brings up a really good point that it doesn't indicate sponsored versus unsponsored, and unsponsored people have a more of a burden on their time, right? Because they're usually working full time. And then also it doesn't talk about the fact that we do have, just like you can only be a lead organizer for a WordCamp twice. There's a reason for that. It's because you burn out after a while. So maybe after 1 or 2 times, people take a break and come back in later. So we don't know what that time series data looks like. So I think that it's not necessarily that those people drop off and never come back. It's more likely that they take a break and come back again later.
Possibly. And the only thing that still irks me every single time we talk about contributions is we don't include translations. Which, as Taco and I know, can eat up a huge chunk of your time.
Interesting. Yeah, that is a good
Confirmed.
point. But well
Yes.
spotted there, Taco. I confess I hadn't really seen it that way. I was sort of swept along by the, isn't it good that there's loads of new people? I hadn't really thought about it from that point of view. If you've got an answer to that question, answers on a postcard to Taco at Yoast HQ, where he'll gladly sift through, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
No, don't do that. Don't actually, anybody. Please don't do that. He's got enough work on his hands. Let me put this back on the screen. So we've got some other things that were mentioned, which are new tools coming to the community. We're going to have, I think this is quite an interesting one. And certainly from Taco's point of view, I'd be interested to know what he thinks about this. We're going to have new taxonomies inside the plugin and theme directories, which are going to be able to indicate a little bit more. So for example, we're going to have a tag marked community. And to quote Matt Mullenweg, it says in the article here, this is for software that belongs to us all, with the lead developers stewarding it for the next generation. It kind of feels a little bit almost like a half canonical plugin, which have been mentioned recently. And the canonical plugins are going to be ones which are essentially, they're basically part of core, but not needed in core. So that's another one there. And then also this one, which I think is quite interesting, a tag designating if a commercial, if an aspect of the product is commercial. So I'll quote, another tag would be designated for commercial plugins that have some sort of upsell and often include commercial support. Anything with a pro version will fall within this category. Mullenweg said he wants WordPress.org to create an environment where commercial and non-commercial plugins can exist together harmoniously. So do you want to speak to us a little bit about that? I mean, presumably, Taco, you've had thoughts and conversations around this, because this could either work really well for you or maybe change nothing. I don't know.
So it has already changed on WordPress.org. So if you go to, for example, Yoast SEO, you'll see that it's now tagged as commercial. Which is fair because there is a paid upsell to Yoast SEO. But it also is interesting because the free version of Yoast SEO is just like a community plugin, is very open to getting input from the community. It's developed in the open. So they are not really mutually exclusive, but they are now on WordPress.org. So that's interesting. At the same time, I'm super happy because the commercial tag comes with a link that can send people to the premium support spot. So that is really helpful.
A huge win.
Yes, except for the UI, but that's something that we can prove on
Sure.
later. But
Yeah.
at least there is a link now that where our premium users who still end up on the WordPress.org page can click and say, okay, I want support for this and I want to pay. I'm ready to pay.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a good step forward for.
Can I ask, did you get to choose that link? Or is it just going to the base URL of Yoast?
Well, I think that if you're listed as the owner or developer of the plugin, that you have the options to set it, which I'm not for Yoast. So I'm not sure. But I also know that I think Otto set the settings for the first, like the top 10 or top 20 plugins. So for Yoast, it was already done. We didn't do it ourselves.
You can imagine that if there was a UI where you could specify what that was, you can imagine it being quite an interesting marketing tool if you could choose like a Black Friday equivalent of that link around Black Friday, or I don't know, some sort of promotion that you were running at the time. That's interesting. Okay, so mixed. It sounds like you've got mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, it's great. You've finally got a link off just a really important property in the WordPress space, linking directly to a page, maybe of your choosing, maybe not. But it sounded like you were dancing around the word commercial a bit, because certainly from my point of view, the word commercial kind of feels like it's got negative connotations. I could be wrong about that, but when I hear about commercials on telly, I'm just trying to figure out ways to skip through them, frankly. But also, it feels like an interesting word to choose, put it that way, as opposed to, I don't know, upgrade or something like that. I guess
it's not always that you can upgrade. I mean, it's what this basically says, and what I like about it is that what it's saying is there's a company backing this product, and that may mean something in terms of reliability. Is this plugin going to be around in 10 years?
Right.
And that is very different from a community plugin that is intended to be around, but yeah, I'm not sure if that's if it falls on one person. I think Contact Form 7 is the ultimate opposite example. But if it falls on one person to build a product, at some point they might be done with it. They might burn out, they might stop. If there's a whole company behind it, it might be more reliable. So if you're picking your products that you want to use in your projects, it might also be a positive thing that there's a company behind it.
Yeah.
I think the word commercial is weird. Just consider the option of somebody builds a plugin and it's free. Support is free. Everything's free. Normal, right? What if that person says, if people really need support that is beyond free, I'm happy for them to contact me and we'll set up whatever we need to set up. Does it then become commercial? I don't think so. The plugin stays the same. There's no upsell. There's no upgrade.
Yeah. It's a good point. Well, I guess on balance, Yoast is happy with this. You know, you've got a nice link out to your commercial product. I mean, Yoast is a different one, isn't it? Because everybody knows, everybody's heard of Yoast. Everybody knows that you've got a commercial side. Maybe for some of the
wish.
Oh, okay.
I wish.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Everybody here knows.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a problem. The discoverability of having a premium upsell, and in that regard, this is really helpful.
Yeah. Okay. There's quite a few comments that have come in about this, and maybe some of them have now lost the focus because we've moved on a little bit. But James saying this is in response to Michelle. That's what I was thinking, Michelle. People might be contributing to release and then make a break before coming back or getting involved in another aspect of the project. Thank you for that, James. Amy says the related text on the Yoast plugin page, commercial plugin. This plugin is free but offers additional paid commercial upgrades or support. Okay. And again, I'm wondering who got to write that text, whether it was you or...
I think this is default for all the commercial plugins.
Okay, right. It does sound like boilerplate, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. The related text on the Yoast plugin. Oh, we've just read that, have we? Yes, thank you. Commercial, says Bridget Willard, definitely has a negative connotation. Yeah, that's kind of in my head a little bit, Bridget. I don't know if that's just me, but I do feel that a little bit. And we see, according to Amy, commercial, the word commercial heading before we see the details. Okay. Right. One quick last thing about state of the word. Actually, there's a few things. Firstly, did anybody notice Matt Mullenweg's lapel badge?
Oh yes,
that was
that's the first thing I tweeted from the event was his double check marks.
There was a subtle dig, I guess, at Mr. Musk and what's going on over there on Twitter. He's obviously double certified, which I think was quite interesting. Also, I don't know if you saw the news today. Elon has put out a tweet saying you can vote him out as CEO. Basically, he's going to step down if Remkes is like, no, he's not.
That's a ploy. Come on, he said half in November. He said, what was it? I will do this temporarily. I will be looking for a CEO to replace me as soon as possible. So that's already in the works. He's already talking to somebody, and he's just giving the crowd the idea that they have influence.
He's too good at this marketing stuff, isn't he? He's got me
Shut the front
sucked
door.
in. That's right. He's got me sucked in. That's
or he's banning everyone who voted him out.
Yeah,
I know. I wondered about that myself, but I also it's not that he's too good at marketing. It's that you are too much of a sucker to believe what he has to say.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Yeah, actually, do you know what? It was because it was carried on the BBC. The BBC put that story out.
Yeah, but they're 24 hours late anyway with everything they report on. So
anyway,
and Twitter's happening so fast, so you need to be on.
In other news, let's get back to the state of the word quickly. There's one final thing at the bottom. A truly remarkable thing was, well, unveiled is the wrong word, but brought to people's attention. And it's this WP WordPress sandbox project, which is really remarkable. And I genuinely don't know how this technology is even achieved. It just literally seems like magic. So Matt demoed it. Thinking back, I can't remember how the demo went, but essentially, if you go to developer.wordpress.org/playground, and that's what's showing on the screen right now, and I'll just click refresh, it throws up an install of WordPress, and you kind of feel to yourself, well, I've seen this before. You know, this is the sort of thing that InstaWP does and TasteWP and all of that. Well, no, that's not the case, because this is all running inside your browser. And I genuinely haven't a clue what the tech stack is that's going on in there. But there's a database, there's PHP, and it's all happened in the blink of an eye. And this is a fully functional WordPress website which only exists inside of my browser.
It's not fully functional because it doesn't use MySQL. It uses SQLite. Okay, SQLite has quite a few limitations. So if you want to run a plugin that has its own MySQL implementation or custom database tables, whatever, it won't work here, at least not in its current form.
Remkes, obviously you've looked at this a little bit, certainly I think probably more than I have. Can you see what the purpose of this is in the documentation for for Matt's talk? It was all about developers and people being able to try plugins out, and I was thinking, yeah, that seems interesting, but it also, I
think I've skimmed mostly, so I haven't fully read everything here. But what I've seen is that it's supposed to become a playground in the literal sense, where you can just activate all these different things, even from, you see the edit site there, so you can go to the site editor. You can play with all these things that are part of WordPress now without actually having to install it. So you get a better feel for those who'd like to see how things work first. I would imagine plugins and all the things will become an option as well at some point to fully, properly test. But there's a see?
Yeah. Yeah, we've just on the screen. I just went to I tried to go to the repository to put a plugin in, and you can't. You have to upload it yourself.
So it's all local storage. So whatever your browser is capable of doing, this is what it'll allow us to do.
Okay. It sort of seems to me like a very clever technological implementation, but I can't quite see.
I don't know the technology behind it either, but I can see tons of things like.
Oh, good.
So, from what does this plugin do? Just turn it on, see what it does. What if I can change to this theme and then start playing around in my site editor? And this is, I don't know if this is part of their roadmap yet, but I can very well see this being used as, let me see how this theme actually works in the theme store itself. So you actually go to, okay, right. So this is what it looks like instead of that incredibly bad screenshot we currently have to our availability. That is never fitting.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm now starting to see more of a purpose to it. So in your imaginings, you might off the WordPress repo just stumble across a plugin. You just want to quickly see what it looks like, what its capabilities are. You click a button, it launches in a new tab in Playground with that plugin.
I would imagine we're working towards being in that situation where we can do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense.
What I do think is interesting, and you can see that on the screen now, is the URL that's reported for this post you're editing on the side in the sidebar.
Here.
Gutenberg sidebar.
Okay. Sorry. Yep. Okay. Yep. So it says wasm.wordpress.net/scope and then a load of pseudo random numbers. Yeah.
That's but so
it's proxied.
Yeah. It looks like it's running on WordPress.net in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Interesting. Yes. Okay. I wonder if I won't endeavor to get people to use that URL. My guess is that URL just won't work. Should we try it? Are we able to get that and stick it in an incognito window?
I'm thinking now that there's a plugin called Frontenberg by Tom Nowell.
Yep.
It might very well be an adaptation of that, because that simply allows whatever's in Gutenberg to be on the front end of your site, which is essentially what we're looking at.
Yeah, look, there it is. It's definitely, so this is well, mind you, it's in the same browser window. It's in an incognito window, but then so is everything else. So I don't know if cookies and what have you are stored, or I genuinely don't know how all this works, but it certainly seems to work. But I'm still, I don't know essentially, but yeah, WordPress.net. Is being used there. Okay, so that's a really curious development. Maybe in the days, weeks, months to come, people will start using it in new and innovative ways. Sorry, Michelle, it sounded like I interrupted you.
No, I just thought it was really interesting. And like thinking, I'm not a developer, thinking of how I would use this is exactly what Remke said. I would absolutely test plugins this way and see what the settings look like and how it operates and whether or not I'd be comfortable with using it. I don't remember what plugin I was looking for recently, but I went through 3 before I found the one that I actually settled on. This would be a better way to do that.
Right. And it really did happen more or less instantaneously. From the moment I clicked the button, I think 2, maybe 3 seconds passed. And then that WordPress site was ready. So there's definitely some limitations on what it can do, specifically around MySQLite and what have you. But Sarah wrote a much more in-depth article over on Tavern on the 8th of December, new WordPress sandbox project demos, test drive themes and plugins in the browser, where she talks about, who built it. It's a chap called Adam Zielinski. I guess we'll be hearing more about this in the days and weeks to come. So the next thing then to mention on our little laundry list is coming from you guys, Taco, the Yoast team. I've done something pretty cool this week. About 6 months, I'm going to say 6 months ago. That's probably completely made up.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, good.
Yeah, roughly.
That's about the first time I've been correct this week. Yoast released a feature into their premium or commercial, I'm going to have to use that word from now on, into their commercial plugin, and it was all about inclusive language analysis. Now, first off, for those of us who haven't been paying attention to that particular story, can we talk about what this even is, Taco? What is inclusive language analysis?
Yeah. So, what what Yoast SEO has been doing for a very long time is help you write for SEO using a green traffic light, orange and red to see this is what I'm doing right, this is what you can improve. A couple of years ago, we've added a readability check, a readability analysis. So aren't you just doing the right things for SEO, which is more the technical side of things, but are you also creating a text that is readable on the internet? Because people are using websites on their phones while on the bus, while walking. So that's when we added the readability analysis. And now there's a third analysis. And as you said, it has been in premium for a while and it now came to free. And that is, are you, um, well, we're hoping not on purpose, but are you offending people who are reading your content? Are you using the language that is inclusive to as many people as possible? And the example that you're showing on screen is, for example, a warning when you're using men and women in a text, because are you sure that you're talking about a group that is exclusively men and women? Because there's more variations than just the binary men and women. So um, the plugin recognizes that non-inclusive of potentially non-inclusive phrases and explains why it might be problematic and gives you alternatives so that you can write a more inclusive text and you don't accidentally alienate people who might otherwise buy your products, engage with your content, visit your website.
So this little the screenshot that we're showing at the moment is showing an orange dot, amber
Yes.
dot. Is that indicative? Is it the same traffic light system? Green for go, if you like, and
Well,
here's a potential problem.
it's slightly different because green means we haven't found anything,
Okay,
and
right.
it doesn't say you're all good, because inclusive language is evolving really fast. So we're never going to promise you this is all perfect. The thing is, green means we didn't flag anything that might potentially be problematic.
Got it.
The orange traffic light is showing in certain circumstances this can be problematic. So verify whether that's the case with this use of that specific phrase. Because if you're talking about a group of friends and you know that they are all men and women, then obviously this is not problematic because you know that you're correct. But if you're targeting a general audience, then it might be much broader and you're not entirely sure. So this is where you really have to do the work yourself to see, hey, is this indeed problematic? And then there's the red traffic light where you go like, okay, we are 100% sure to know that this is absolutely not inclusive. So yeah, that's the way it works.
Okay, that's the way it works. And then the story here this week is that you've decided to roll it into free, right? So this is now available to everybody. Why did you do that?
Because it matters. We've always said that Yoast SEO is for everyone. We do SEO for everyone, and we basically had this in premium, and people were asking us, but we're a charity. It's very important for us to use the right language, but we can't afford premium. We really feel that we should be using this feature, but we don't have the funds for it. And this is something that is going to make the web a better place for everyone. And that is why we decided it should be in our free product, because it is helping our goal of SEO for everyone and making the web better for everyone.
A couple of nice comments in relation to that. Lana, hello Lana. She says, amazing feature. I was struggling with guys in my emails and content, and having Yoast feature during article writing is awesome. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
That's
And
so
then,
awesome to hear.
yeah, and then another one, Good Citizen Move by Yoast. Bravo, says Amy. So that's kind of nice. Can I ask a couple of quick follow-up questions?
Sure.
Firstly, some people are going to say, I don't want to go near this. And my understanding is it is off by default, right? You have to go and enable it before any of this happens. Is that correct?
So that was indeed the case in Premium, and it still is in free, but I can only hope that as many people as possible are going to activate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the second one is, well, I've got two further questions. First one is, does it take on board? Well, obviously English. We've seen that.
Yes.
Does it go through the same heuristics and checks with a whole bunch of different languages as well?
Not yet.
Okay.
So it's English for now, but obviously, like the readability analysis, which we've expanded to over 27 languages, we really want to do the same. But
Okay.
you need native speakers and educated native speakers to get this right, because it's such a sensitive topic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And finally, my understanding with Yoast is that all of the analysis is happening in my own WordPress website, right? This isn't phoning home and doing some kind of AI check on a big, large computer in the cloud somewhere, right?
Nope. This is all done in browser, on your own site. So we don't like having your data, because that means we're responsible. So nope, it's all on your own site, happening in browser.
Michelle, it looks like you were going to ask.
Yeah. I had the honor of previewing this before it went live and was just blown away by how amazing this plugin was. My only criticism was that it was in the premium and not readily available to everybody. So like when I found this out, my heart sang, if you can believe, all the work I do on inclusion. So I thought this was absolutely brilliant. And I did just want to give a shout out to Hannah. Hannah's one of the developers on this project, and we had her on the Underrepresented in Tech podcast. She's brilliant. I know there's more people that were involved than just Hannah, but I can speak for that conversation and how much I appreciate all that has gone into this project.
Very nice.
That's a lot of work by the entire Lingo team. Yeah, definitely.
Remkus, anything to add on this, or shall we move on?
I would only be re-echoing what has already been said. So
okay, okay, we'll move on. Yeah, nice. So you can check that out just in case you're interested. It's over on the Yoast website, and the article, I should probably just pop it back on the screen, makes it a lot easier to understand. It's called New in Yoast SEO Free, the Inclusive Language Analysis. Okay, so go and check that out. Right, back over on the Tavern, just a couple of things that have come up in Gutenberg 14.7, which a couple of them I think are actually really nice. The first one is that you are going to get different colors in the Gutenberg editor depending on the kind of template parts block that you're using, whether it's a reusable block and so on. If you're familiar with page builders, the one that I'm most familiar with is Beaver Builder. And in Beaver Builder, typically, if you're interacting with something, everything's blue. It's this sort of pale blue. But if you're interacting with a global row or a saved row or something like that, just to make it really obvious, everything goes sort of an orange color. And the idea behind that is, okay, I know that this is not just being edited in this one part of the site. This is going to have a wider impact. And there's a little video here showing that. There's a kind of, I don't know if these colors are going to be configurable in any way, but you can see here that you've got blue normal blocks, and then you can probably see on the video as well that we've got different colors, purple popping up when the person is editing the headers and the footers. So that's kind of nice, just a nice little UI thing. And this one as well, the inserter, and I'll quote, the inserter is getting a major change in 14.7 with the addition of a media tab. So it's going to be next to blocks patterns. Now there's going to be media, making it faster to add images, video, and audio. Users can select the new tab and select a media type, and then you'll see the 10 most recent items, which in many cases I feel might be enough. It certainly would work in my workflow workflow pretty well. But then there's also going to be a open media library button at the bottom, so you can just invoke the old media library. Actually, if memory serves, although I didn't mention it, I got a feeling that Matt in the State of the Word said that there was going to be some overhaul of the media library in the year to come. So maybe this is part of that initiative.
I was thinking the same thing, because this certainly looks like a first small, like really small step into how could we do media differently.
Yeah,
it's in editor fully now, instead of invoking a whole bunch of modals doing weird and funky stuff.
Yeah, you kind of imagine that the UI that we can see on the screen here, Remkus, where you've basically got one image stacked on top of another one. If you are after one that's been uploaded very recently, in other words, the first 10, this UI is going to work. But in some cases, it really does take me quite a long time with the existing structure to sort of find the one. You go to the bottom, load 100 more, and you just scrape through. And you'd imagine that there's got to be some, there's got to be some
for
mobile
larger
or something.
sites. Yeah, I think for larger sites where multiple people are working on it and everybody uploads their images all at the same time, this doesn't make any sense.
No.
On the other hand, if the default filter is uploaded to this post, it could work.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's some nice, fairly straightforward, but nice little changes. Michelle, there was quite a lot of talk in State of the Word as well about Openverse and whatnot as well, wasn't there? Have you got any numbers to share on that? Because I know that you're interested in that.
Not overall numbers. I had made, my question was about the photo directory project, where we have almost 5,500 photos accumulated in just a year, and what that would look like going forward, and made the suggestion that it would be really nice if I had an idea that my photos are being downloaded, being used, so that I know if I should keep contributing to a project like that. And
Oh,
so
I see. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. So in other words, you get some kind of data back saying your image has been looked at, I don't know, 200 times. If you've ever uploaded an image to Google Maps, then they're really good at getting back to you and telling you over and over again. In fact, to the point of like, stop it now, Google. I realize that picture of that statue is really popular, but they do. And it is breathtaking the amount of times, if the data's correct, you take a picture of a statue in the middle of London or something, and a couple of days later, like 100,000 people have looked at it. It's just astonishing. But it makes you feel good, right? And it makes you think, actually, what? I'm going to contribute more to that community.
Right.
And
what's really nice is the photo directory project now does give you a badge on your WordPress.org. Not only that, but if you look further down where you can see your favorited plugins and your activities, now you can see the link to your photos and your uploaded photos as well. So they're doing a lot. A lot has been done to at least, it's only been a year, but
so kind of make it an unsplash.
Yeah, right. So I would love to see it actually able to be connected to the media library, where you could connect automatically to the
that's bound to happen.
WordPress
That's bound to happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
That would be a transformational change, actually, if you think about that. If you can just chuck stuff, but also if you could tick a box when you upload an image to say, put it in Openverse, I'm totally happy. And then that'll
from your WordPress site to Openverse.
Right. So I take a picture now, I upload it to my website, tick a box to say, give it to Openverse.
He did say that is coming. That's one of the things that's in the pipeline.
Well, as soon as that checkbox appears, you can imagine that it will go from 5,500 to a bunch more.
Million.
Yeah, it's like overnight.
The difficulty is that there's only a handful of us that are on the photo team. And I know for me alone, I don't know how many of us there are, maybe 10 of us, I have discovered at least 15 pilfered photos that have been uploaded. So things where I find them in iStock and stock images elsewhere. And then I have to say, sorry, but no. And, at this point, we're not banning people from uploading photos, but we're keeping a close eye on that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How do you do that check, Michelle? Is it like that? That sounds like a fairly manual process. Are you literally looking at the picture? It's
entirely manual. Yes, I have to. I download it to my computer and then upload it to Tonight and see if there's and this is not to say that there aren't amazing photographers in WordPress, because there are. But when I see one person submit 5 photos, and one is an aerial view of another parachuter, an aerial view of a cloverleaf highway, a really nice flat late setup of a desk, and then a painter's easel. Like those didn't all go together.
Yeah,
And so
right.
I
Yeah,
started to
yeah,
check them, right? Like, yeah, these are all fake, or they're all somebody else's. You cannot
you
pass them. We've
fighting the
also
good
had,
fight there, Michelle.
it's
I could
amazing.
imagine in the future there will be AI involved in those decision-making processes.
Let's
Because,
hope, yeah.
well, I mean, you've got to imagine that the likes of Getty are not issuing all those. Well, yeah, I've had friends who almost as soon as they accidentally put images on the internet which they shouldn't have done, the letter arrives via email almost immediately. It's like, nah, no
Yeah,
human was involved in that decision.
exactly.
Amy says, I think Matt said something about a future ability to include people in the images,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering how that would work. Yeah, that's a good point, because at the minute, if there's any trace of a human, I think it's a face. Maybe it's
If it's a recognizable face, if you can,
okay.
if I look at it and it's not so far distant where it's just kind of like featureless, then
Yep.
we say no. If there's a
Okay.
license plate, if there's an address, we take things like that off of, so that it's not personably identifiable information.
Yeah, I can imagine
Right.
that would be a whole viper's nest to get into, because obviously then you've
That
got to
should be
assure.
automated ASAP.
Yeah, yeah, because presumably you could just upload pictures of people that are not you, who very, very well may want their photo never to appear on the
Yeah.
internet. So yeah,
Right. And
definitely
as a
mindful.
photographer, I get, street photography, you actually are allowed to take anybody's picture if they're out in public, in the United States anyway, and you
Huh.
can use it any way you'd like. But if you're taking pictures in private, then you have to have an artist or a model release in order to use them publicly.
I don't know
It's
what the
very
situation would
interesting.
be in Europe more broadly. I feel it would be
Mhm.
different than that, but I could be completely wrong. But it feels like the Europeans and the North Americans tend to have different opinions about those.
Well, I think from the top of my head, and I'm not an expert on this because I'm not a photographer, but it's very similar. Whereas in
Huh.
public domain, as long as
I
it's
think so
not a
too.
close-up of someone, you're pretty much good to go regardless.
Yeah. Okay.
Whether you
Okay.
shoot is a different story.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, that we got into all that because we were talking about the changes in Gutenberg 14.7,
Mhm.
of which the ability to add media is going to be directly in the UI, which is really nice. We'll
Mhm.
just have to see how that implementation goes. Right, from one story to another. Honestly, I don't know what to make of this story. I think it's interesting and curious in equal measure. The founder of the MailChimp for WordPress plugin has announced, not in, I can't remember where, it was on some third-party website, or it might have been
Reddit.
Instagram, or where was it? Sorry,
Reddit.
Reddit, or Hacker News, or something like
Hacker
that.
News, yeah,
Yeah, thank
according
you.
to the tavern.
Yeah, okay. Well, the guy
Okay.
who has been making this plugin, who it turns out, I think maybe both Remkus and Taco know, he has decided, it's Danny Van Kooten, and again, sorry,
Koten.
Danny, I knew I'd have butchered it. Okay, Danny Van, and Remkus, say it again, sorry.
Koten. Just
Okay,
in your head, when we do the double ones, you just make that an H for the second one and you're almost there.
Okay. I shall never make mistakes again. Anyway, I'm just going to call him Danny. He began this plugin journey a long time ago. I think as long as 10 years ago or something like that. From a hospital bed. It sounds like he was drawn up with some illness and decided, I've got a bit of time on my hands. I'm going to create a MailChimp plugin. Fast forward 10 years. This plugin is active on 2 million plus websites. I don't know what the exact boundary there is, but beyond 2 million. It has been downloaded 42 million times, which just such big numbers. And he has decided, in such a really interestingly honest appraisal of his interaction with this plugin, he's decided basically he doesn't want to continue anymore. And he's offering it up for sale for the princely sum of 1.6 million euros. Now, there's a whole ecosystem of other sort of like bolt-on plugins, which means that as of this week, at least, the plugin is making $36,000 per month. You can subtract from that a couple of $1,000 that the developers, he hires in some third-party developers to help him with the project. So it's clearing well over 30,000 a month, and he wants to get rid of it, basically because he said, I'm not really interested in this project anymore. Somebody else can take it over. There was quite a few comments down at the bottom sort of saying, why would anybody, what? 30 grand a month and you've decided to get rid of it. And then the developer, Danny himself, pops in to the comments just to lay it all to bed and said, look, I'm just not motivated, basically. To quote, thank you. I am mostly selling because of a lack of motivation. The time I currently spend on this is the bare minimum to keep it running. I did a quick back of the envelope calculation and I figured that if everything just carried on the way it was, I think you'd be turning a profit in under 5 years. Can't really remember, but there's probably a whole bunch of growth there. Just thought this was a really nice story, and it peeled back the curtain of money, which never gets peeled back. You know, when some company A buys company B, it's very, very rare that the figures are put out into the open. So anyway, I guess, Taco, you know Danny.
Yes.
Anything that you want to say about this?
Yeah, so I know Danny very well because he was an intern at Yoast in 2014. So when he already had this plugin, which was then the reason that he didn't join Yoast as a developer, because he already had a good source of income. So yeah, no, he's an amazing guy. He's been very smart about this. The plugin works really well, and I hope that it will find a good new home.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know him then, Remkus? You obviously
I
got his-
do. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. It was just, I think for me, the interesting thing here was that figure of 1.6 million.
It's really not that difficult. So if you just look at 36 times 12 times less than 4.
Was it less than 4? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So you're at if you do it, you're at 1.7 and some change. So 1.6 is not too bad in terms of the asking price versus what you're getting for it, especially considering that there's a lot of potential for making it better and upgrading, and even just a simple price hike would already be totally acceptable because he's not necessarily asking a lot. And if you're from the Netherlands, you can get it cheaper.
Oh yeah, how come?
Yeah, that's what he tweeted. So I'm
Oh,
guessing
nice.
I guess it's
It
a
stays at
VAT
home.
thing or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, that's great. Anyway, yeah.
But it's really not bad numbers in terms of what you're getting and the potential.
I think that the reason the story popped out in my head, at least anyway, was just because like 1.6 million, as you said, it obviously stacks up, right? There's no weirdness there, but it was the fact that a plugin which does one thing, which is connect a service which you know, a lot of people are obviously using. I don't know how popular MailChimp continues to be, but certainly it was.
They're still growing.
Yeah.
They're still
Okay.
growing.
It was the fact that it just did that sort of one thing, and that one thing could be profitable to that level. And he's very clear in the article. Usually in a typical week, he's spending about 4 hours a week on this. So, you know, you're looking at less than 20 hours a month.
And then
in order
432K per year.
Amazing, right? Just amazing.
Yeah.
What the
size will do that to you.
Can do. Yeah. And but for somebody like me who's never really been involved in anything on that magnitude, it always amazes me how big the WordPress ecosystem is. And I've just noticed that I've got antlers on my head, and I'd completely forgotten about that, and now I just feel ridiculous. So let's move
as you
on.
should.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's move on to this story. I don't know anything about this other than the fact that it exists, but I thought I'd mention it because I've seen it. When I say I don't know anything about it, I don't know who's particularly behind it or what have you, but there's an initiative which I'm sure I heard about last year. It's called WP Gives a Hand. The hashtag that they're using is WP Gives a Hand, and it says, let's make a difference together, will you? How great is the feeling when you not only get something but new, but also be part of those who give back? And really the idea is an exchange of essentially just donating from today. It's a week long in its breadth and scope. Starts today, December the 19th to December the 25th. And I'll just read here. Every company that joins the movement donates a percentage of every sale to charity, and that bit is in bold. The charity event takes place on the last full week of the year, but you can join in any time. So it just seems to me like a just be nice for the sake of being nice kind of endeavor. There's a button on the site saying that you can join, but obviously some of these companies have decided they're already going to donate a proportion of their revenue to a charity, which looks like you name in advance. So, for example, the guys over at Visual Composer for the next week will be donating to a charity called Voices of Children. Indie Stack is going to be donating to Ocean Blue, the Amelia plugin to a charity called Body Human. I could go on, but you get the point. I don't know if any of your companies are involved in this or not, or if it's new to you, but there it is. It's wpgivesahand.com.
I think I saw a mention of it last year, so it's not the first time that
That's what I think.
organized. But
that's correct.
Haven't seen anything, not a lot from it.
No, maybe it's just in its infancy.
The press release that I got came from Irma at Visual Composer. So I don't know if she's one of the people who's behind it or Visual Composer is.
Oh, it says.
It says in the footer. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well spotted, Remkus. Yeah,
that might also be just a website built with Visual Composer.
They the guys at Visual Composer are also responsible for this new project called Indie Stack as well, which is mentioned down here. So we'll see. Anyway, the point being, if this is your bag and you want to get involved, there it is. We have mentioned it. You could go and donate to charity. Yep. Right. Okay, let's move on. Just a quick shout out to Dennis Dornan. Dennis is the founder, one of the founders, I believe, of MainWP, which is a product. It's a plugin which allows you to maintain and curate multiple WordPress websites all at once. And I did a podcast episode with him this week all about how he's partnered with companies in the recent past, particularly the likes of Atarim and various others, in order to help grow his business. So if you're interested in that side of things, making your business grow, then go for that. I'd also like to mention that Cadence, the theme, celebrated 200,000 active installs during the course of this week. There's a whole load more data in here about the different things that have happened during the course of the year, but that's pretty impressive, Michelle.
We're pretty excited about that over at Seller WP, and I know that if Kathy's watching, she's excited that you've mentioned it. So
how quick do you have any metrics in how quickly it's risen? Because it feels like 3 years ago I hadn't heard of it. 1 year ago I was hearing about it quite a lot, and now I hear about it all the time. It seems like it's really on the rise.
Just anecdotally, that this year has been amazing for Cadence, and we've had a lot of adoption.
Okay.
And the community, we have a Facebook community. The community around Cadence has really grown quite a bit. So we're really jazzed about it. Oh, and Dennis is in the chat. He says thank you.
Oh, nice. Hi, Dennis. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so go and have a listen to the podcast I did with Dennis. It was really nice chatting to you, Dennis. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Now, this one is, by the way, guys, I might have to miss a few out because we're running a bit late, so I hope that's all right with you. I don't know how to pass this next story. This is WordFence, who have launched a free vulnerability database for, well, it would seem more or less any kind of use. I read it again, and a lot of the devil might be in the detail, but essentially let me just quote right off the top of the article. It says, today we're incredibly excited to announce that WordFence is launching an entirely free vulnerability database API and web interface available for commercial use by hosting companies, security organizations, threat analysis, security researchers, and the WordPress community. This is part of a larger project known as WordFence Intelligence Community Edition, which we're launching today. Okay, you could read the article and it would tell you what was involved in all of this and exactly what kind of data you're going to be able to get your hands on. There's a fairly long video, which I watched quite a lot of, with Mark Maunder, the founder. But the bit that I don't quite get is that it's totally free. And I'm just kind of curious as to why they're giving away what feels like the crown jewels their threat analysis vulnerability database. And in the past, you'd imagine, well, we'll give it away to like non-corporate entities. If you're a mom and pop store, sure, you can have access to it. But then to give it away to people like hosting companies, I don't get it.
So what does it say when you click view pricing? Because
let's have a look. You mean this button here?
Yeah, because
let's have a look.
What is left for them?
Yeah, that's just regular WordFence.
This is just the normal WordFence plugin, isn't it? Which is for the likes of, I guess, you and me.
Yep.
So I'm imagining that this suite of products that we're looking at on the screen right now is sufficiently profitable to make
It's got to be, because I see no logic other than we're making good money somewhere else, and we see a benefit in helping the community.
Yeah, and that's why I'm regarding this with such interest, is because you don't often see something which is really genuinely entirely philanthropic. There's normally lurking somewhere. There's an upsell.
There is the upsell of the plugin, of course. So by getting the word out, we're talking about it obviously now, but it's more people discussing this, talking about it. Of course, we'll also see an uptick in their plugin base, I'm sure.
Yeah. What caught my attention is that it's called the WordFence Intelligence Community Edition.
Right. There it is. Yeah.
Which means that there must be a different edition that's then probably paid or will be in the future.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe, and this is the bit that I couldn't drill down on. I couldn't drill down to see if it was limited in some way. Whether it was rate limited. You could poll the API every half an hour or whatever it may be. But I couldn't see any limitations in it. And it says, I'll quote because it gives some context. WordFence Intelligence Community Edition is a set of data available free for the community to use, and it includes enterprise quality vulnerability database, an API that provides full up-to-date download in JSON format, completely free, with no registration required. We're investing heavily in this database by growing the team, maintaining and curating the existing data, and adding new vulnerabilities as soon as they're discovered. What I always am amazed by, and Google kind of represents this perfectly for me, is how just data about customers can often be enough to be very profitable. It never ceases to amaze me the amount of money Google can make just by having data about what people are doing. They're not selling a product itself. It's just that to some extent, I am the product. And I just wonder if there's an element of this, they'll be able to see who's doing what.
You kind of have to assume it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I haven't looked into how they do the things they do, but I kind of have to assume that that's some part of it somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, there you go. Nice story. Anything to add to that, anybody, or shall I move on?
Just reiterating that it's awesome that they're doing this.
Yeah. That's right.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let me see what we've got. Taco mentioned this one. I confess I've missed this one, Taco. Do you know what? It really feels like moments ago that we were in Portugal, or at least me, Remkus, Taco, and about 3,500 people were. It feels like just the other day. And yet we're already talking about WordCamp EU. It's going to be held in Athens. The dates here, 9th to the 10th of June. I don't know when Contrib Day is going to be, if it's going to be at the beginning or at the end. Is it on the 8th? So it's on the day before. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's been divided up into day one. This is nice. I like this. Day one is going to be WordPress Now. Everything that can be currently achieved within WordPress. I'm presuming all of the talks and presentations will be falling under that umbrella. And day two will be tomorrow, WordPress tomorrow, all the exciting things that are just around the corner for WordPress. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because, this is call for speakers, isn't it, Taco?
Yes, this is the call for speakers. So, as always, WordCamp Europe is looking for new stories, new speakers to present the best on WordPress. And I think especially with WordPress tomorrow, there's a huge opportunity for people who want to help shape the future of WordPress, but also the future of the WordPress community to what it is. Because well, looking at the flagship WordCamp Europe is by far the biggest. So I'd love to have people on stage that are part of a typically underrepresented group talking about the future and how we can see the future from here.
So the topic areas that they're looking to get covered are under the umbrellas of development, and there's a whole list of things that they want to be covered: business, community and people, design, and then they're open to some other suggestions as well. And looks like they're after talks of about 45 minutes in total. They're after some hands-on workshops as well, and so on. So yeah, essentially, if you've got your head in the game of speaking at things like this, then now is the time to apply. You go to europe.wordcamp.org/2023 and follow the links from there to the call for speakers page. So yes, that's kind of nice.
I would like to do one more call because I mean, you know that Michelle has the underrepresented in tech database with a lot of amazing speakers. And I hope that, well, all of them are going to apply for WordCamp Europe. And at Yoast, we have this fund. It's called the Yoast Diversity Fund, where we take away financial hurdles for people from typically underrepresented groups in tech who are speaking at conferences but might have trouble getting their travel or their stay financed. So if you are from an underrepresented group in tech and you see that you might have a problem funding your trip to WordCamp Europe if you're selected as a speaker, please, please, please do reach out to the Diversity Fund because we'd love to help you overcome that financial obstacle.
How often do you do that? So is that like a one-time thing a year, or do you offer like 2 or 3 of those each year?
So we pledge 25 grand a year towards that fund, and obviously during the COVID years it was a bit harder to spend it all, but the goal for next year is to spend every single dime of it.
And do you need to be in possession of a receipt saying I have been accepted as a speaker, or can you apply for both things in tandem?
So before we will transfer funds, you have to be accepted as a speaker.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure whether you'll be accepted to the fund, please do reach out before because we're happy to have that conversation.
That's really interesting because in a way you'd think that quite a lot of people might just be put off even applying to be a speaker on the strength that they know that they won't be able to afford the transit and the hotels and what have you. So if there's something in the back of their mind thinking, okay, there's a chance that I could win the Yoast fund as well as win the opportunity to speak at WordCamp. Yeah, if you can do both of those at the same time, that might drag some people over the line. That's great.
And winning makes it feel like it's a competition between people, but if there's 6-7 people who need our support to be able to speak at WordCamp Europe, not a problem.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
I love what you're doing.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Right. I've got one more piece here before we go on to the not particularly WordPressy stuff. And this is over on Master WP. This is it Nyasha? I don't know how to pronounce Nyasha's name. Nyasha. I'm sorry, Nyasha. God, it is a full-on day of me butchering everybody's name, isn't it? I think that's what this episode's going to be called. Nathan.
No different than usual.
Well, that's true. But normally there's only one an episode. This week I've done it about 4 times. The piece is called "It's About Damn Time: What the WP Community Collective Means for the WordPress Community." Strapline is WordPress has a new non-profit that aims to help community grow and communicate better. The WP Community Collective, to quote, WPCC is a new non-profit organization. It seeks to provide fellowships to WordPress community members. So it very much sounds similar to the the fund that Taco's just been talking about from Yoast. It seeks to provide fellowships to community members that financially support their contributions to the WordPress project and community and more. The WPCC lists its operating principles as clear and direct communication, transparency in goals and operations, and positive and proactive action. It's been founded by, dare I even try this, given that I'm butchering names, C. Reid, Katie Adams Farrell, and I'm on safe ground here, Courtney Robertson. They have decided to do this, and it seems like it's a really good idea. I don't know in terms of what it is that how they're going to be distributing the money, how it is that you're going to apply for the money. But anyway, this is a new initiative, and you can get involved if you like. This seems to be kind of the initiative that you might have been involved in, but I don't think you are you, Michelle, on this occasion?
I am not, but I am 100% in support of it. Absolutely.
Do you have any insight into what it is that they're going to be giving the money out for? I mean, there's defined principles here. It says the WP Community Collective provides fellowships to financially support their contributions to the WordPress project and community, and then there's 3 others as well.
Yeah, I don't have any insight into that, but I'm going to try to get one of those people on the podcast in the new year. So hopefully we'll have somebody on here and sometime in January to talk about this further. Yeah,
that would be nice. So WP Community Collective, let me just open up the authentic URL. It is at the URL, thewpcommunitycollective.com, where you can find out a little bit more. I have one frivolous thing just before we get into what we're doing for Christmas, that little chestnut, and it is to say, not that one. Where's it gone? This is over on the Guardian website. If you really like, if you're a bit of a nerd, right, and you've got children who you suspect also might be quite nerdy, this is a challenge that GCHQ put out every year, and essentially it's to try and spot spies of the future. So they put out this little puzzle, which is kind of children's level difficulty. Man alive, it's hard. I had a good go at it, and it's like, okay, I'm definitely not a spy. It's like a Christmas card challenge, and you can see it. It's on the screen right now. But basically, it's a bunch of logic problems. There is a defined win. There's a defined outcome, but the principle is you get stuck in. You and some of your friends try to crack all these problems. Some of them are about cybersecurity. Some of them are about coding. But, they're at that kind of level where most people can participate and have ideas. I tried it and just started throwing objects because it was actually really... The top one is like this cube, and it's like the traveling salesman problem where you've got to figure out the quickest way from getting to point A to point B, given that some roads only go in certain directions, and then those directions flip given certain criteria. But it's really, really good fun. And like I say, if you've got a child who whips through this in a matter of minutes, well, they are going to be the next James Bond, basically. So yeah, download it. I'm showing you the Guardian article. And if you manage to finish the whole puzzle, I think it sends you to a what 3 words location, and that location will then give you more details about how you can take this a little bit further. And it's not just a bit of a game either. I think this is a serious endeavor to actually find out amongst the population, certainly in the UK, who can finish this stuff, because I think the bar to finishing it is pretty high. And if you do manage to finish it as an individual or as a little collection of people, I think you are basically showing some extraordinarily talented, neurons firing over there. So yeah, anyway, that's it. It's the GCHQ Christmas festive puzzle, guaranteed to be fun at the Christmas table. All right, I'm done with the regular stuff. I know Remkus has got to be out of here in a few minutes, so I'm going to start with him. Remkus, have you got anything planned for your Christmas? Are you doing anything nice over the holidays? Do you take time off? Is that even a thing?
I do take time off, and I'm just going to focus on stacking as much food on my plate as I can and finish.
Yay!
It's very simple. I'm a simple guy. I don't need much more.
Do you do the whole thing?
I don't even need the Christmas tree.
Do you do the turkey? Is that a thing where you are?
No.
Oh, is that like a Remkus not thing, or is that just like not a Netherlands tradition?
As far as I know, it's not a Netherlands tradition.
Ah, no. Look, Taco's shaking his. Okay, so what do you do on Christmas? What's the meal look like? What do you typically do?
just fancy food, good food, lots of it. Yeah, just I don't think there's a theme other than food.
Just lots. Just the more dome shaped your plate becomes, the better. Yeah.
For a lot of families, it's krumette.
Krumette?
Yeah.
What's krumette?
No, gourmette.
Butchered another one. What's that?
Yeah,
like
I'm
fondue
sure.
type, but then not with fondue,
Okay.
but like you have your own little barbecue plate in front of you where you put your little slice of meat and your mini paprika and
Yeah, it's sort of a
mini
mini
pancake.
grill on the table where
Yeah,
you
it's
cook
just-
your own food. It's for lazy hosts.
Oh, but that's like a
but,
so if
but
you,
good fun.
But if you stepped into like a typical house, there's a high probability that people will be doing that meal.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting. Because in the UK, it's like turkey all the way down. So that tradition can't be really old because, you know, turkeys come
I don't
from
think
North
we eat
America.
that much turkey.
Yeah.
I think turkey is the I was going to say the odd duckling, but that's not accurate either.
it's just foul.
Yeah.
Oh, ka-ching. Yeah.
Well, we don't do turkey either because we had our turkey less than a month ago for our Thanksgiving. So we usually
there's no leftovers.
No, those are gone. we usually either do a ham, but in my family we do lasagna, which is also very common in this part of the United States. All the lasagna noodles are sold out the week before Christmas, so I am not the only family to do that.
In the UK, it's turkey. Basically, everybody. I mean, really, there's obviously going to be some exceptions, particularly people who.
I think outside of the thing that we use, so the mini grill thing.
Yep.
Outside of that particular thing, there's no default in what goes on there because some will do little mini pancake stuff, some will do mini sausages, and you know it's also the thing the kids are allowed to do themselves as well. So they are cooking their own food and stuff.
Yeah. Well, in the UK,
there's no standard in food.
There's no standard. Yeah. Here it's basically turkey, and there's all sorts of constraints. So this is really weird. Because we have like a national television network, the BBC, and it's watched by a lot of people on Christmas Day. They have to charge the National Grid, which is the power company, because a significant proportion of the people in the UK boil their kettle at exactly the same time as everybody else, and it's when the Queen, now King, when the Queen's speech is finished. So the moment it finishes, like, I don't know, 40 million people get up and click the button on the kettle, and they have to figure out the demand and spread the demand for everybody's use of a kettle. Isn't that weird?
That is awesome.
Brilliant.
That's funny.
But it takes months of planning, apparently, just for this 1 3-minute little episode where everybody's kettle boiled. Because if that demand was on the system on a regular date, the whole thing would collapse.
They can't like per county or whatever, like delay the broadcast. Like
This is the king, Remkus.
I have nothing with that concept.
I would love to talk extensively about kingdoms with Remkus because I'm sure that being Frisian, he's very much in love of our kingdom.
We're not getting into that. We're not getting into that.
We have something similar in the US. It's as soon as the Super Bowl hits halftime, the water level depletes everywhere because everybody runs to the restroom. So
that's fascinating.
It literally puts a tax on our water system.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's very interesting.
In the UK here, typically also, you have the whole Santa thing and the gifts get given and children run down. And when I was a kid, it was basically all the gifts would be in the front room, and that was a really exciting moment. Mm-hmm. Sadly, my kids have grown up to the point where they that ritual is a distant memory, shall we say. So we have to contrive a lot of that kind of stuff. But I'm really looking forward to it. I know that Remkus has got to run, so we'll knock it on the head fairly quickly. I would just like to say thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Well, Remkus, if you need to drop off, that's fine. Feel free. We can close out without you. Oh, quick wave.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Let's just the last one of the wave before that. Yay! Thank you very much, Remkus. Have a lovely Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you in the New Year. Thanks so much. And Michelle, thank you.
All of you as well.
Yeah, thank
Bye-bye.
you, Verdonschot. Michelle, same to you. Have a lovely, lovely holiday, and we'll
Same
see
to
you in the
you.
New
Thank
Year.
you.
And Taco,
Yes.
same to you. I hope you have a lovely Christmas and New Year. Take it easy.
Likewise. And I hope to see
Absolutely.
you more often again in the new year.
Tell me more.
Absolutely.
Actually, should we end the call and then tell me more? So let's do that.
Sounds good.
I'll see you in a sec. See you soon, guys. See you next. Well, I'll have a good week, 2 weeks, and we'll be back at the beginning.